All right, there we go. Good evening. Welcome to the council meeting of June 17th. Anyone in the audience need amplifying headphones, please raise your hand and we'll get those to you. Not seeing any. Let's rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mary, can you do a roll call, please?
Yes, I can. Councilmember Blush.
Here.
Councilmember Stearns. Here. Councilmember Gilmore.
Here.
Mayor Nisco.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sherman. Here. It looks like Councilmember Saab is absent this evening, and I don't see her on Zoom. Councilmember Gutierrez.
Here. Right, anybody have motion to?
I motion we excuse Councilmember Sapp. Second.
Right, motion is second to excuse Councilmember Sapp. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, council have any late changes to the agenda? Not seeing any, city manager?
Nothing tonight.
All right, council have any board reports to share? Not seeing any? Is everyone had a chance to read the consent agenda published?
Yes.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as published.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the consent agenda as published. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, council invites the public to make comments on matters of city business. Comments are made to the entire council, not individual council members. Please refrain from any personal disrespectful remarks that create disruption in the meeting. If unreasonable disruptive conduct continues, be asked to leave. Mary, anyone set up general public comment?
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor. Our first speaker is Kathy McDowell.
Good evening, Mayor and council members and deputy mayor. Is this on tonight? This is on, it's on.
Doesn't necessarily broadcast. Screen like this on.
All right, you may reset your time, Kathy. What I'm about to read to you is for the memory of Chloe. Something happened last week which affected our family. And before I get to that, I want to bring something to the attention of everyone in the city who owns a dog or plans on owning a dog. Our city has an ordinance stating that dogs must be licensed and they should also be on a leash and not running the streets. I was on the council when that ordinance was put into effect. And unfortunately, many people, along with some of our first responders, do not know that this ordinance is in fact part of our city ordinances. We must do better, people. Last week, my daughter and family were traumatized because they witnessed her dog, Chloe, who was in her own fenced yard, being mauled by a pit bull, which was running our streets with no one with him. Chloe was Amy's baby, and as many people know, a pet becomes part of their family. So we all just lost a part of our family, and not just us. After the dog was found from the other family, they had to put their pet down also. So 2 families are now grieving the loss. I know that our city doesn't have the money for animal control. And I know that our first responders are understaffed. So people, it is up to us to control our own pets in the city. We must do better now so that Chloe hasn't died in vain. I have a poem for Chloe that I'd like to read. Chloe. Chloe was a dog my daughter raised, a family pet, part of her and part of us. Long walks my daughter took around the city with Chloe by her side. And people marveled how friendly and kind Chloe was as she strolled our little town. But today we sit in sadness because of someone's senseless act. A dog someone owned was free to roam and killed my daughter's pet. No sense can be made of this. No act can bring her back. The tears we now shed are for the river of memories of how dear she loved her pet. So Chloe, as we say goodbye, know that you were loved. And up in that great big blue sky, you surely will receive God's love. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Amy Hewitt.
Good evening. So in light of the recent United States Supreme Court ruling addressing the legality of public encampments, our city finds itself at a pivotal crossroads. The decision reinforces the authority of municipalities to reclaim public spaces, and now Shelton must act decisively. It is imperative that we follow the lead of cities such as Aberdeen, Bothell, Spokane, communities that have successfully adopted a no lay lie ordinance to ensure the safety, accessibility, and dignity of the open spaces and public spaces. The need for action is not theoretical, it's immediate and visible. Brewer Park, once a cherished community space, has become a blight. While we applaud the initial steps taken to address the encampments within this area, we now must extend the same commitment to the broader city. The vehicles, cars, and RVs now congregating underneath bridges and along the city streets are a continuation of the same challenge. Public spaces should serve the public, not become informal settlements that compromise health, safety, and economic vitality. We must be unwavering in our mission, make Shelton great again. The goal begins with revitalizing our downtown and surrounding neighborhoods. It means ensuring that families, businesses, and visitors alike can experience our city with pride and peace of mind. Removing vagrants from our urban core is not an act of exclusion, it's an act of restoration. Furthermore, we must reconsider the location of the ETS truck stationed near Brewer Park. While its intent is noble, its placement undermines both its effectiveness and the integrity of the area. Social services should be administered in a dignified professional environment, not from roadside steps that inadvertently validate transient living in public spaces. Ultimately, Shelton and Mason County must strive to be recognized not for tolerance of dysfunction, but for leadership and solutions. We must direct individuals in need toward real structured assistance, housing programs, addiction treatment, mental health services, rather than enabling a cycle of visible suffering. Pretty valid points and pretty powerful. To enable what we're doing for the last 5 to 10 years and to try to continue doing the same thing is the pure definition of insanity. We had 2 individuals here chastise the community about how they were embarrassed. Well, I'm actually ashamed of those 2 individuals for their words against their community. Okay? We put people in this council in their seats, and we can remove them. And I believe that's what Shelton is directing and we're heading towards. So, appreciate what we all do. Thank you for the floor.
Thank you. All right. We're on to presentations. We have a presentation. April financial status report from Finance Director Terry Fincher.
Give me just a minute to load this up. It worked early. Thank you for your patience. There. Done. Yep. Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council. Tonight I bring you the April 2025 monthly financial report. And as you can see at the 2025 estimated actual, it shows that the unreserved fund balance is at 2.5 million, which is a $607,000 increase from what we projected at 1.9 originally. Yeah.
Good stuff.
So then on page 2, we have the general fund overview of revenues. And just want to highlight a few of them where the property tax is staying steady. It's holding in right at about what we had projected at 3 million. In May, even though this is April, in May, we got the bulk of the first half. So it's with that, I can tell that it's trending where it's supposed to be. And with the sales and use tax, even though it shows an unfavorable amount of about 73,000, it's actually improved from March of about 1.5%. So it's the gap is closing and it's coming into line with what we originally budgeted. But it's early in the year and we'll continue to watch it. So the business and occupation tax, it seems to come in fairly strong right now, although I will note that as of April 15th, our yearly B&O tax filers file. So this report includes that yearly filing. So we'll be watching that also. So, but it's the revenues are coming in favorably, about 311,000 over what was originally projected. And then on page 3, we have the general fund overview expenditure by department.
Just slower up there.
It is.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't read with my
You're
glasses.
fine.
on. Okay. Should have had you do it. There we go. So the expenditures by department for the general fund, and it shows the 2025 estimated actual at 16 million, which is a favorable amount of 295,000 under what we originally budgeted. Just wanted to note a couple things, just because the community development and the public works is showing an unfavorable amount, but that's just because we've had unfilled positions and we've had to contract out for that work to get done. So, and I believe engineering has replaced one of those by now. So working on the other one.
Let's see, catch the bottom line. There you go.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Okay. So on page 4. Went fast enough on me. There we go. So on page 4, we have the general fund year to year. And then on page 5, we also have the general fund month to month that shows the years comparing 2023, 24, and 2025. On page 6, this shows the sales tax breakdown by type. And this, all this data comes from the Department of Revenue. And you could see that from 2025 through April, and then just April 2025, the percentages are consistent, so they're falling in line with each other. And for page 7, we have the citywide fund balances. And for the, like, page down a little bit. The 2025 estimated fund balances are coming in at 21 million point 5, and where we originally budgeted 26.8. So even though we're still early in the year, we're watching it closely, but it's a good indicator of where we can start the process for a 2026 budget. So. And then,
Terry, if you don't mind,
Yes.
Some of those numbers are skewed a little bit by some of the capital projects within our utilities. If you'll see the sewer fund and storm drainage fund, equipment rental fund. Those are some of the larger expenditures, and they're within those utilities and some of the capital projects that we have ongoing.
and then at the bottom of page 7, we show the citywide FTE by fund, and the vacancies of 1.5 in the general fund, and in the other city funds, 5.5. And then from pages just 8 through 12, it's showing the citywide overview revenue and expenditures where it's at. It's in a rolled up level, so it's easier to read and review. And with that, that is all I have. Any questions?
Questions? Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Share,
Oh, good.
share for Jay here.
All right, our next presentation is an annual report of the Transportation Benefit District. Public Works Director Jay Harris has information for us.
Hold on. Let me get that.
So I take Terry out of the seat.
Musical chairs tonight.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council, Jay Harris, your Public Works Director. I have my IT Director here loading up the presentation. I normally be using my laptop, but I couldn't hook to the internet tonight, so I have the city manager assisting me, and
He is failing right now.
that's all right.
We want to pick Kenny. Are you doing?
Oh, I got that.
Okay.
I changed that. Back to rudimentary IT. That's-
I don't know how computers are factoring in.
So tonight I'm going to give you the 2024 Transportation Benefit District Annual Report. So that's last year's report, right? So we're required by RCW there on the screen to give an annual report of the expenditures, revenues, construction schedules, and to the public. So that's why I'm here this evening. Next page, please. Hope we can get that. There it
It's
is.
getting there.
He's getting there.
By the end of this, we're gonna have it down.
Yeah, we're gonna have it down. So, the Transportation Benefit District is a 0.2% sales tax collected by the city. And it in help me here, Mark, it's
2015.
2015 is the voters authorized that. And here it is under the governance section. So those funds go to street projects. That's maintenance, operations, capital projects, that sort of thing. I'll get more into that soon. If you remember, I gave you the pavement condition index report. And so the PCI is the acronym for that. Was in the mid-60s. That was like 8 years ago or something. We've improved significantly with the TBD funding. We're in the mid-70s now with our index. 100 is perfect. That's all brand new pavement just done. It obviously degrades from there. So a mid-C for a city this old is really good. And the TBD has been the reason why. Without this funding, there's no way we'd able to gain more than 10 points in the PCI index. It means millions of dollars went into the system. So if you look down at the bottom of the screen there, in 2016, we collected almost 275,000 in TBD. That's at 0.2% sales tax. In 2024, last year, we collected 741,000. So the revenue's gone up over, that year process. What is that? 8 years significantly. And 2016 was only a partial year, though. The first full year of the tax was 2017, because I think its collection started in February or March of 2016. So that's why it was down a little lower. So one thing we are doing with the TBD is the leverage strategy on the bottom left there, that we try to go and take TBD dollars and match funding from WSDOT and other grant opportunities. Like Olympic Highway North was one of those where we leveraged a small amount of TBD dollars to get $3.8 million combined with some other grants and that sort of thing. So it's very successful is using TBD, which is limited resources, to leverage larger dollars that are available. So if you look at the upper right here, like I said, our revenue was 741,000 last year. We had $40,000 in interest earnings. We had some savings come back in projects. We don't spend it all on projects when we close them out. That was the Front Street project that we paid with the county in Brockdale Road. We had 62,000 that came back in last year. So our total revenue is almost 845,000 in 2024. And I explained these expenditures a little more down below on the bottom right. But we have operations for the street fund at 741. We had projects, and that's M/O means maintenance and operations. And I haven't coded down there how they all add up. And then capital street fund projects, which is coded CFS down below, is 832. So you could see our expenditures exceeded our revenue. And if you go down below, you'll see I'm stacking up projects here, right? So that we have the transportation comp plan that we're working on right now. That's the capacity component of the comprehensive plan, transportation. And so that'll be very useful going into the future. What do we build next? What signal, what roundabout, what road widening, that sort of thing. They could be city projects or they could be developer projects also, right? We have a budgeted project for Mason County to help us some chip seals. That was primarily where Cascade Gas went in. They paid us to offset the cost. They went and cut up a bunch of roads. We collected some fees back to them and then put some TBD funding on top of that to complete some chip sealing in the city. We had the PCI report that I spoke of earlier. That's been completed. ADA transition plan is almost complete. You'll be seeing that in a couple of meetings, talking about the sidewalks and handicap ramps and that sort of thing. Capitol Hill paving was completed last summer, and a little bit of that money came back again, like I spoke of. We have a budgeted project for the Olympic Highway North project I was talking about, the grind and inlay up there. We're putting into a reserve fund for the maintenance yard replacement, and that's a longer term project. It's probably gonna be about a $6 million project. We got money in the bank now, just over $2 million. We're trying to save up for that project and not have to do loan funding. Our Pine Street yard, if you people have been on the tour, you'll see why. There's a lot of reasons why we want to move the yard this is probably 5 years from now, that sort of thing. It's longer term, but we're saving up to make a difference and then reuse that facility down there for other operations that we need. Safe routes to school, that's been completed. And then downtown street trees is budgeted. We should be going to bid soon. Next slide, please. So here's the fun part. This is the projects at work. So the downtown connector was paid with TBD dollars. Brockdale paving was also supported by those dollars. Western Gateway was more recent. The Civic Center parking lot was recent. 13 Avenue chip seal was, I think that was 2022 when that happened. Great project. It really made a difference out along over by the hospital. Down at the bottom here, you can see the safe routes to school slide. So that was at 7th and Franklin right over here, and Evergreen Elementary. We did a bunch of improvements over there. And then up by the high school over to the Huff and Puff Trail, the crossing from that parking lot was also put in with safe routes to school. Next slide. So Olympic Highway North, we're going to be restoring that road soon. I found some before and after. So this is Turner Avenue before. It was highly distressed pavement. You can see after, that was some years after too. That project's a little older now. What year, Kenny? 2018. So Front Street paving, which was 2 years ago. Lake Boulevard before and after, which is an aging project, a little older. And then Olympic Highway, we're showing at I Street that TBD dollars are supporting an upgraded crossing at I Street. And then on Olympic Highway South, up by Shelton Outfitters, there's going to be a sidewalk walk put in across the street. You can see the yellow down there. The sidewalk doesn't exist there. There's a guardrail, and we need to connect the two gas stations basically right there. And then we're looking at a project of Railroad Avenue, 8th Street and 1st Street, the future project down the road to complete the improvements that we did with Western Gateway, go down all the way to 1st Street with them. Next slide. So some of the maintenance activities we do with TBD dollars is street sweeping is partially supported by TBD. It's also supported by the stormwater funds. Part of our stormwater permit, we're required to do street sweeping every year. A lot of roadside mowing. That's to keep the vegetation down. You don't want trees growing right on the edge of the road. One, they're dangerous. Two, they start blocking sight distance corridors when you're going around corners and that sort of thing. Intersections, we do a lot of mowing at, you see that. Snow removal, last year wasn't very big on snow. Prior years though, we got walloped. When I first got here, it was like 2020 or maybe it was 2021. We had a really big year, very active year. Signal maintenance, you see that truck out all the time. They're doing stuff on the signals. Pothole patching is very regular. We do sidewalk grinding. We just got done with a bunch of downtown areas right before the Forest Festival. We paint crosswalks and stripe every year. We have a Vector truck that does a bunch of digging for us. It really saves the guys back. And we also have a brand new patch truck. It's called Patch Squatch. It's on the side of it. We had a little community contest for that. Grinding and overlaying, that's where the grinding machine takes the pavement out and then we inlay into the pavement to restore the surface. And that is it for the TBD report, and I'm available for questions.
Any questions for Jay?
Jay, if we had approved a 0.1% increase in the TPD councilmatically, would that have been $370,000 more for next year?
Very close to that, yep.
That's all.
Any other questions? Thank you, Jay.
You're welcome.
Thank your crew for all the hard work.
Yeah, they work hard and I appreciate what they do every day, so. And I'm also available for tours if anybody's interested. I always offer, about every month I get the green van out. So get a hold of me if you'd like to go out on a tour to see some of these things again, okay?
Thank
Oh,
you.
one more thing, the
Yeah.
TBD is on the ballot, right, in November?
Yes,
The renewal, it's not an increase, it's just a straight renewal. of 20%.
straight renewal, August 5th. Okay, and we're all doing that. One thing I forgot to mention is the project this year that I'm doing with the county is up on West Mountain View. We're overlaying streets that were paved probably about 30 to 40 years ago. And structurally, they're pretty sound. The asphalt is really dry. The bond binder is gone from the asphalt. So we're going to be putting a 2-inch overlay. I'm working with the county. It's currently scheduled for right around July 15th. We're going to be getting out some notifications and that sort of thing up there. But that's a great project that we're doing with the county this year, similar to Capitol Hill and Front Street, where we get them for a couple days to assist us.
Then there are flyers out to the TBD as well, is that true?
Correct. The brochures are going out with city utility bills this month. We've got a whole webpage on the city's website to further explain what the projects are and how the TBD functions.
Will our road condition index go up or down with this flat maintenance of the TBD?
Yeah, with the current funding, the way it is, it's gonna stay about the same. Our new PCI report said that you spend this much money, you're gonna get about what we have. So we're probably not gonna get into the 80s without getting more revenue in, but we should maintain what we have, especially if we're leveraging and getting the projects out, those dollars, the TBD dollars. And most of the leveraging that we're doing is for the collector roadways, right? We can't get grant dollars for local streets. That's why we're doing a bunch of things with the county, but we're leveraging state money for the arterials and collector roadways.
Yeah, I just wanted to once again thank you for what you've done. The Gateway project is so much more walkable in the city and all the things you've done. Crossing streets, making everything more visible, the accessibility that's on the curbs now. So thank you for getting that money and using it correctly and leveraging it so that we can have good roads, safe streets to walk on, and all the hard work that you're doing.
You're welcome. Appreciate your support.
Anything else for Jim?
I was just curious, you were talking about the overlay on the west, did you say Mountain View area?
Yes.
You said it's not so bad, it's been there for about 30 years, we're gonna do an overlay. How long will that extend us for that?
Yeah, we probably should get another 30 years out of it because they're low volume residential roadways, not a lot of trucks. And so this overlay on top of the old pavement surface, which isn't highly fractured, should get a good service life, probably another 30 years. We do have to crack seal it about every 5 years though, and that's one of the most important maintenance activity is keep the water out of the roadway from freezing and popping it.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you, Jay. All right, we have no business items this evening. Our first action item is resolution for stormwater permitting engineering technician Kenny Holberg has details.
Just to provide a quick recap and summary, because it's not very often I'm up here and talking about this. This is essentially extending an existing agreement / contract that we have with the Coast Conservation District. They take care of our phase 2 MPDS stormwater permit, public education outreach portion of that, which it's a fairly small portion of the permit, but the work that goes into that small one is very large. And we don't have the capacity to do it, and MCD specializes in that. So essentially what this does is gives our city manager the authority to sign a amendment to or a memorandum to the existing highway that we have extend previously presented strategy schedule budget. That strategy schedule and budget covers 23 months, which puts us through the next capacity grant cycle. And just to recap, that capacity grant comes from the Department of Ecology. It's a recurring 2-year-long funding cycle grant. It is not competitive. It has been supervision. So what we're doing is getting money that's sitting there just for us from the state, using it to pay the conservation district to do work for us to single.
All right. Mary, anyone have public comments?
No.
Right, may I have a reading of resolution number 1387-0525.
Resolution number 1387-0525,
A resolution of the council of the city of Shelton, Washington, approving a strategy, schedule, and budget with Basin Conservation District for Western Washington Phase 2 municipal stormwater permit, public education and outreach efforts, and authorizing the city manager to sign the letter of acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mary. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 1387-0525 as presented.
Second.
All right, comments or questions?
And I just wanted to thank you for working on this project and working with our partners at the Mason Conservation District. And like I said 2 weeks ago, it's beautiful that what we're doing with the Conservation District, all the work they do up at Huffman Park, and the work that we're doing out in the bay, and also the pollinator garden over there by the farmers market and civic center. And the strawberries are there, so those are fresh. Go pick up. They're amazing. So please thank our partners in this project.
Any other questions? Thank you, Kenny. We have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 1387-0525 as presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Our next is the letter of support, Mason County Commission regarding funds from House Bill 1406. City Manager Mark Ziegler has details for us.
Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council. So I'm bringing you a draft letter of support to the Mason County Commissioners regarding a request for funding for a feasibility study for the structure at 218 North Third Street from New Horizons Communities. The city and the county both received a letter requesting funding to conduct a feasibility study to look at the former Community Lifeline building for conversion to permanent supportive housing by New Horizons. Obviously, the city has not budgeted anything for the use of those funds. It was taken up for consideration by the county commissioners on April 21st. That discussion revolved around essentially what the city's opinion was and what the council thought. Later that day, Mayor Nisco and I met with council or commission chair, excuse me, Trask, and then County Administrator Neary to further discuss, the project and where the city might lie with support. We communicate to them that it's a permanent supportive housing project, therefore it's allowed within the CRV zone at that area outright. It does not take council action to be approved. So they could go through the permitting process. The only action that may be quasi judicial is potentially a variance for parking. So it's just like an apartment complex, if you will, in that land use zone. Further, we discussed the ILA between the county and the city that was adopted in 2019 or executed in 2019 that established a cooperative agreement between the county and the city that outlined how we may cooperatively address affordable housing projects within the city with available resources, available funds. House Bill 1406 was passed by the legislature in 2018 that allowed for a pass-through of state sales tax to be collected locally for affordable housing projects. At that time, it was 0.0073%, 0.0073%, I believe, right? That the city could collect for projects at that time. The city elected to enter into this interlocal agreement with the county. Under that legislation, the county could collect on behalf of the city if the city would forego that collection and combine those funds for more appropriate and impactful uses. The estimated amount at that time in 2018 was about $18,000, that 0.073%. So again, the interlocal agreement outlined several tenets. Within that was that a member of the Shelton City Council would serve on the Housing and Behavioral Health Advisory Board Committee to make recommendations to the county commission for disbursement of those funds, and those funds would need to be spent within the city of Shelton. That further discussion led to then Administrator Neary saying about $500,000 was left in the county's coffers from those 1406 funds. And I believe at that time, about $55,000 of those funds were spent on a Mason County housing needs analysis. So in front of you tonight is a draft letter to the county commissioners outlining the ILA, the role of the Housing Behavioral Health Advisory Committee, and the support of the council for the project as a permanent supportive housing project, and the 1406 funds that would have been collected by the city that, per the ILA, would be spent in the city for these types of projects.
Anyone say public comment?
I'll speak. Second.
Yeah, please, Dean.
So we're gonna have an exemption for an area that wasn't slated for an apartment building ever in a neighborhood. So we're, so we're gonna do an exemption. How many people are gonna be parking there? Where's that parking gonna be at? I'm kind of concerned about that. I think we need to really make sure that we look into this. Before we just go and approve something. Obviously, I'll have conversations with the county commissioners as well. I am not in support of this at all. Was there a study session on this? I'm not sure. I also put in a public records request to the county, and I'll do it here in the city as well. Because if I'm not mistaken, there was funding that was provided to that building for infrastructure for sprinkler systems. So how did the sprinkler systems get involved? What kind of infrastructure and water systems were brought down to there? And at the sale of that building, is that funding going to get returned back to the city and or the county of those taxes? Or is that just going to be a wash and thrown out? Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, council have any questions, comments or questions for Mark?
So this is about a feasibility study, right?
Mr. Mayor, motion first.
Oh, yes. Any of the motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the letter to the Mason County Commissioners regarding the House Bill 1406 funds and authorize the mayor to sign the letter on behalf of the council.
Second.
All right, comments or questions?
So this is a feasibility study? Yes?
Correct. So it would analyze the building, land use zoning, what would be required to convert it into 15 permit supported.
So all those questions that were just asked will be answered by the study?
So regarding the parking, our land use code allows for a variance if the parking from one use to the next use does not increase by more than 20%, they can request a variance. That goes in front of the city's hearing examiner. So there certainly has to be a traffic impact analysis done and a greater analysis on what type of parking is going to be needed for this type of facility compared to what the previous use was, which was shelter.
And New Horizons is the organization that works at the Veterans Village, is that correct? Yes.
They, conduct and manage Veterans Village.
Okay. This is a couple questions I wanted to bring out. I'm in favor of this study, and it's what the commissioners asked for with what we think. And I think this will increase the number of beds available in this housing crisis that we have. So I'm in favor of looking into this and approving this statement for the study.
This doesn't change. I believe you mentioned that the land use currently would allow this. If they wanted to do it outright, they could just do it with a hearing adjustment, maybe on parking.
For the parking, correct.
Thank you.
And I believe that Commissioner Randy Netherland also asked for this letter of support as well in one of their meetings. Basically, Councilmember Unitera said this is a study just to see if it's feasible to turn this into what, a 12-unit apartments, pretty much 15-unit apartment building. And the money has been sitting there since 2017, I think, and really not been used. And it's money that's been collected on behalf of the city that the county really hasn't dispersed in anything yet. So we're just asking the county to use money they collected for us for this study, correct?
As the ILA states that those funds shall be spent within the city limits.
But those funds could be used in a different way also, correct?
For affordable housing purposes, correct?
So this isn't borrowed now. All right.
But it's been 8 years and they haven't used a dollar. The county hasn't used a dollar of the funds. They actually have their own, they actually have like $500,000 of their own money in the same fund that they haven't used, because together it's 0.146, I believe, percent of a, it's not a sales tax, it's a credit to the 6.5% we give the state that they take actually, we don't get it.
The
They take
state,
it from.
the
us.
6.5% the state collects, then it's passed, portion that is passed through to local jurisdictions under this.
Yeah, it's credit,
Right.
credit back, yeah.
Correct.
So it's really not, it's just kind of like money sitting there waiting for a project to happen, so. All right, anything else?
I guess I was really hoping that instead of a feasibility study for just that location, that it would have been a little more broad. There's a different option on location, and that's what I was really hoping for, because I don't know if that's the best place for housing.
Well, the housing's actually, it's actually zoned for that kind of housing. The parking may be an issue down the road, but it's actually already zoned for that, so anybody could just buy it and do the same thing. We are definitely in need of some supportive housing.
I agree that we are, I just don't know if that is the best location, and even for them, I don't know if it's the best location for them,
I mean, Crossroads is supportive housing, correct?
correct? And it's not in the middle of the downtown district.
It's pretty close.
So this is only a study to get more information about how we should use it, and it's also recaptured some of the power that we ceded back in 2018 to the city to make decisions on what Shelton wants, not what the county wants. So I think that we should do this for the best interest of the city and for its residents and for the people who put that housing. And for the people who need supportive housing who are otherwise unhoused.
So if we say yes, then they take $55,000 of the dollars that we could have used in a different way. Somehow for housing in our community. And let's say that,
There's still 455,000 in there. if you spend
Well, let's
55,000.
get apples to apples. We have about $18,000 a year. So we have about $70,000 in that fund. The county had, the rest is their money. So we only have about $18,000 a year in there. So we don't have $500,000. We only have maybe 70, maybe something like that. So-
right, so and 55 of that would be going to the city, which means there wouldn't be much left over.
No, I think 55 is what they used for their fund to do a study down years ago. This is about $75,000, isn't it? For the study?
According to.
The housing needs analysis, I think it was about 50.
50.
Oh,
Yeah, it's about the same. Sorry for the confusion. It's about the same as what the New Horizons request is, yeah.
oh, okay.
But my concern here is, if we spend this, that it's not feasible, then we just lost this money and it didn't actually go to help. And that's my concern. I really want those dollars to go to be helpful. And so that's my concern here. I hate wasting money.
I can definitely share that concern, but it's been there for 8 years and nobody's actioning it. So it's sitting there, a project has presented itself an opportunity to use the money, and we're just saying, hey, we would support it. So I mean, whether you support it or not does really matter, but it's, it's, nobody's asked for the money until now. So it's not like we're choosing from a list of possible projects. There's hypothetical projects, but there's one available at the moment.
This is also what our council member who's on the board approved when she was at the County Housing Advisory Committee meeting. So she approved that to put that up to the
Let's not
commissioners.
speak for people who aren't here.
That's the member of our board passed this. That's what it says right here. A member of our board of our city was at this meeting making the decision, representing our city. So I'm not speaking for her. I'm saying this is what that board said. And she's part of that board.
That board actually asked made a motion to actually approve the project, not the funding. This letter for funding is coming from this council right now. So that I was at that board meeting, the project was supported, not the funding. This is different than the funding's different. So, and I don't want to speak for Councilmember Sapp, she's not here, so.
Yeah, my understanding is the minutes from the meeting, the Housing Behavioral Health Advisory Committee recommended to the county commissioners the support of the project. It did not have a funding element to it.
Okay, thank you for the
Okay,
clarification.
just make sure that we don't speak for somebody. All right, anything else? All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the letter to the Mason County Commissioners regarding House Bill 1406 funds and authorize me to sign on behalf of the council. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed,
Nay.
tight, motion fails. Mark, city manager report.
I've got nothing more tonight. I apologize. Just, working day-to-day stuff.
All right, council have any item for discussion?
Looking forward to the summer in the park. And get your kids out there and go see the movies and go spend time with the kids.
All right, our next meeting is scheduled Tuesday, July 1st at 6 P M. We have a study session Tuesday, June 24th at 6 P M. This meeting is adjourned at 6:49 P M.